is that it only took a few months for the world to melt down after Angela Merkel left. And I'm curious what you would say to them.
Look, it's hard not to have a lot of admiration for Angela Merkel. I used to say that she was the only G7 leader who understood economics because she was not an economist. She was a trained scientist. I think it was a sort of mix of physics and chemistry, but she had a rigorous scientific background. I think that's probably better training for understanding economics. That said, she made what will be viewed historically as one of the greatest blunders in history, which is she bought into this Green New Deal, which is nonsense. But she systematically shut down Germany's nuclear power plants, not all of them, but many of them, which was a great, very clean source of power. She shut down Germany's coal plants. And there's clean coal technology, but fair to say coal has a little more in the way of CO2 emissions. So we probably need more CO2, but at the rate we're going. But that aside, so she shut down coal. She shut down nuclear, which meant Germany was utterly dependent on oil and natural gas. Germany has no oil, has no natural gas. They found that out the hard way in World War II. But it's just the case that they don't have any. So you shut down some indigenous sources of power. You make yourself utterly dependent on external sources of power, which all come from Russia. And then you basically declare economic war on Russia. Now, I understand that the last step took place under Schultz, but she paved the way for 14 years. So I think she did a very good job of saving the euro. I think her conduct during the European sovereign debt crisis from 2010 to 2015, it was a rough ride, but she provided a lot of leadership. She made the hardest single decision, which is in 2015. She said to the Greeks, okay, your tantrum is over. You are out of the euro as of tonight if you don't agree to our terms. And Greece did agree to their terms. So she made that hard decision. No one wanted to see anyone leave the euro. But a lot of people are confused about Brexit. That had nothing to do with the euro. It had to do with EU, leaving the EU, but that's not the same as the UK was never in the euro. But Greece was and is, and came within probably hours of being kicked out. So I'll give her credit for making some tough decisions, but her blunder was not to diversify and use advanced technology and in diversifying Germany's energy sources. When you are the export powerhouse of the world, particularly at the high end, China makes a lot of, kind of garbagey, exports. Chinese goods in the U.S. are famous. They look good on the shelf, and you open them, they break before you open the package. But Germany makes good stuff. German cars, German machinery, German electronics, etc. And if that's your claim to fame, then you better have a lot of energy. And she has committed an historic blunder in that dimension.
I think the German media has not been as kind as you lately. They've written something along the lines of the crisis chancellor, which Angela Merkel is known as, has taken on a whole new meaning. She's been causing the crises rather than fixing them. The world, though, is turning to nuclear power very quickly now. I think I saw a headline just before we started recording that the Dutch are requesting the Germans to keep their nuclear power plants on now. What do you make of this nuclear renaissance?
Well, if you say nuclear renaissance or turn to nuclear power, you're right. But I wouldn't say very quickly is a good way to describe it. It takes 10 to 15 years to build a nuclear power plant. There are only 2 nuclear power plants currently under construction in the United States. They're both in Georgia. I don't know what it is with Georgia, but that's it. And they're actually supposed to be done in 2023. And then at that point, there will be none under construction. There haven't been for many years before this. France had a robust program. I believe in France, it was, I don't know the exact number. I know it was over 25%, maybe as high as 35% or more of their electricity was from nuclear power. France and Russia are the 2 leading providers of nuclear power plants. If you want to order one, you call one of those 2 places. But they've been shutting them down. Germany had a good array of nuclear power plants, but as we just discussed, Merkel shut them down. And by the way, it's not like throwing a light switch. When you decommission a nuclear power plant, it takes, even though it's built, it takes years to get it up and running again. Same thing in Japan. They had a pretty good program. And after Fukushima, I don't know who thought it was a good idea to build a nuclear power plant on the water where you face earthquakes and tsunamis, but they did. And we know what happened there, and they shut down a lot of their facilities, maybe all of them. The point is, so Japan, they're starting to come back online slowly. France have been dialing it down. They may stop that. Germany, I don't see them turning any nuclear power plants on, but they've at least stopped decommissioning the last few that they had. And the United States is completing 2 new ones, but then that's it. So does it make a lot of sense? Yes. Will the world turn to it? Yes. And I think your Netherlands example is a good one. So that seems to keep everybody happy. It produces a lot of electricity and there are no CO2 emissions. I could debate whether CO2 is as harmful as most people think, but leaving that aside, there's no CO2 coming out of a nuclear power plant. So it's a great source of energy, and I think we'll see more of it. But it's not a short-term solution. It's not going to solve the Russia problem. It's not going to keep the lights on in Germany this winter. This stuff is upon us, and the nuclear option is kind of 5 to 10 years or longer on the horizon.